Hello, folks. Are we on lines? Are we on line ski here? Let's go over here. See what we got. Action needed. What kind of action? Connect automatically.
Is it plugged in properly in the back? Ethernet?
This one doesn't need to. It should be connect and secured. Hey, folks. I think we're back in action. Let's see if we got Restream chat. Oh, I think we're back. Sorry about that, folks. You know what? Oh, yeah. Are we back? Sorry about that, folks. Sometimes the internet comes like a thief in the damn night. Am I right or am I right? We're back. Sorry about that. Now I'll have to go back and delete that one because that'll be up on YouTube and people will be going, I can't hear you. You crashed. And then, then I'll have to delete that one or else people will continue to comment on it. All right, then let's just groove a little bit, I think. Hit it. Rig-a-dig-a-diddle-it. A little jam we made up on the spot ski. That's what we do sometimes. Sometimes I'll just say, Dylan, play me a groove, and then away we go. You know, Strats are an interesting beast. This was my main guitar for many, many years. I would have different variations. I'd played tellies here and there, but this was my main guitar for, I want to say a good 10 years, maybe more. Party like it's 1981. Is that a thing? This beast is currently going through my Koch amplifier, and all those little sounds you heard are all from the amp. You were talking trash about Strats the other day, change of heart. I still talk trash about Strats. No, they're a glorious weapon. It's just that for me, being anti-MacGyverian, keeping them in tune is a little bit more tricksy than the Telecaster can just kind of take it all. And it's just a pure, delicious tone. That's why I gravitated. But I played Strats for years, okay? Let's be clear. The 5-way toggle switch on this one sounds pretty good. This is an ash-bodied Strat. I wanted an ash body. I wanted to have... Gary, I'm in the middle of something. Anyway. And I wanted this maple neck that I played a buddy of mine named Al Eck, who had a band called the Shuffleaires. He moved out to beautiful Las Vegas, 20 plus years ago. But when I used to do gigs with him here and there, he'd let me use his Strat. He had a 56 Strat with a huge old neck on it, fat. And we discovered that it was November of '56 was the neck profile. So that's what I ordered on this guitar, and it is big, it is robust, it's very thick. And I wanted 22 frets, 9 1/4, I think we did 9.5-inch radius on this one, if I'm not mistaken. And initially I had this Wilkinson bridge on this thing. This is, you know, the custom shop was, initially was a place, unlike now where they make a bunch of different variations on guitars, and of course Wildwood does their thing with the Wildwood 10s, of which I have a couple here, which I'll play in a minute. It was strictly a place when it first opened up that was custom orders. So I called up, placed the order, put down a down payment, and I waited for, I don't know, a year maybe to get my guitar, something like that. I don't know what the wait is now. I think it's pretty robust, but it took a while to get. And it is always weird ordering a specific guitar because you like to, because even though you use the best components and so on and so forth, you like to be able to choose between a couple of them. So I was fortunate that when this guitar arrived, it was a beaut. You know, some things I didn't really know all that much. I mean, this is polyurethane. They weren't doing nitro in the custom shop at that point, I don't think. But this guitar sounds good, and it's sounded great for years. A bunch of different pickups. When I first had it, it was really, really bright. And and I wanted something that was less noisy, so I put in lace sensors. That was the only thing Fender had at that time. This is early 90s. And so, and lace sensors have gotten a lot of grief over the years. I happen to think that lace sensors sound really good in the original iteration of the Clapton Stratocaster. And in this guitar, when I first got it, it was very, very bright. So when I put those lace sensors in it, it actually was perfect for this guitar. So a lot of folks have, over the years, one of my better selling records has been a record called Double the Gristle. And it has a live disc. It's a double disc set, and one disc is live. And for the majority of the tracks on there where I'm playing a Strat, I am playing a telly on a couple of tunes. I believe on the Spank It medley, I'm playing a Telecaster. But for the rest of it, I'm using this guitar with the lace sensors. Back then I was using I think I was using a Vibrolux and a Deluxe Reverb, the custom Vibrolux, with a silver face. I had like a 68 Deluxe Reverb, and I would use those two together. I split it with, at that time, before I got the Neo Instruments ventilator as my favorite rotating speaker thing of choice, I used to use a Korg G4, which if you could still find, they're excellent sounding units. I knew Warren Haynes at the time was using them in Government Mule. That's why I got one. I played one at a store and I was like, this thing sounds magnifico. So I would go in stereo into the Vibrolux and the Deluxe Reverb utilizing this guitar. And then for overdrive back then, I was actually using one of the first, it was a full drive 2, but it was actually in this gray box that had stickers on it. It was old school. It was before they were, you know, powder coated or whatever you want to call them. And that's what I used. Anyway, really like the new Orange Room layout, especially that Mac monitor. Thank you very much. Kind of cool, right? But please fix that mic volume. How's the mic volume? Should be all right. Am I right or am I right?
I don't think you're talking into it.
I'm not talking into it enough. I'm kissing it. I'm kissing the microphone. Does this sound more robust, ladies and gentlemen? Wildwood guitar is the only way to go when you're dropping heavy money, and then take your time and no buyer's remorse. That's right, Spider. That is correct. That's why we do all the videos, so that people can hear the guitars in action and go, hey, I like because that's actually how I picked out a bunch of my guitars. The 55 Wildwood 10 Telecaster, which I'll grab and give a good rogering to in a mom's. And then the 57 Strat Wildwood 10. I listened to a few different videos of me playing, not that I wanted to hear myself play. I can hear that all the time. But I could hear from video to video using the same rig that, oh, that one sounds this way and that one sounds that way. So between using the videos for sound and using the weight, pretty much the lightest ones always sound the best. Not always, it's not like set in stone, but a lot of times the lighter guitars just have a resonance for whatever reason. I'm sure there's people arguing on the internet right now. It does not, it does too. Push, pow, ping, ploidle, pling, ploidle. Those are new Batman sounds for physical confrontation, by the way. Pladdle, bish, ploidle. I'm in. Now you can hear the manly voice. Am I right? Am I right or am I right? It must be nice to be stuck with the drummer in quarantine. Am I right? Am I miking the amp? Yes, of course. Of course we are. We are miking the amp. Sounds good, right? Where can I get a hat like that? P.S. I'm Amish. That's the greatest message I think I've ever received. Where can I get a hat like that? P.S. I'm Amish. Well, you can go to my website, which is not discriminatory in any way, regardless of your spiritual, religious, or ethnic affiliation. So you can go to gregkoch.com. You can go to the shop, and you can see a variety of what we call gristle beanies in a variety of colors. This color scheme today is very similar to the one Jaco Pastorius wore. I think it's exactly the same. And plus it matches my Hendrix shirt. That's where I got the ideas for the hats, ladies and gentlemen. I went through a couple different phases. I am not completely bald on top. I do have some hair, but I have a rather large forehead, which has a giant third eye on it, which I want to conceal because people will start screaming and they'll run for the hills. So I want to avoid that. You know, it's kind of like with the UFOs. We all know they're there, but they don't want to tell people because people are going to be freaked out. You know, you think they were weird about going to get toilet paper with just the virus? You mentioned third eyes and UFOs. You'll never wipe your butt again. Am I right, Dylan, or am I right? We'll never. It just won't happen. So anyway, I went through a bunch of different stages. I was wearing these hats like behind, you know, the whatever those newspaper hats are, backwards, and that kind of had its day. And then I was wearing these Western shirts that I really dug. And then I got sick of that. And then I was watching a documentary on Netflix with about Jaco Pastorius, and both him and Joe Zawino from Weather Report wore these hats. I thought, that's a cool hat. I wonder where you get those. So I went online, and there was a gal, Denise Porter. She's from Atlanta or Macon, one of the two. And I believe her significant other, her boyfriend, is a bass player. And she started making the hats. So I started buying them from her. And then I started buying a bunch of different ones. And then people started asking me, where do you get these hats? So I asked Denise, I go, Denise, would it be weird for me to like buy a bunch of hats from you and sell them? So we started doing it, and I bring them to gigs. I can't bring enough of them. People buy them, and it's not just dudes buying them. It's gals buying them. Other members of the Third Eye having set seem to want one to, cover their third eye. They're tired of people running away, screaming, saying, kill it, before it reproduces, type of a thing. Wow, that was, right, Dylan? Am I right or am I right? Quarantine makes for some strange conversations, but anyways. Is she the one that made Jocko's hats? No, she is not. Cool, he gave me the telly he made himself. Nicest gift I ever got. Oh, I didn't see the first part of that question, sorry. Enjoy the mop on your head while you can, Dylan. Paul, I think he's going to be all right. I mean, judging from my my wife's dad, I think he kept most of his hair for the duration of his existence here on planet Earth, so he should be good. My mom's dad, however, was bald as a cue ball. So luckily, I've kept more hair than he had. Joe Stopka asks, how does your son tolerate your twisted sense of humor? You have no idea, Joe, the humor that comes out of this young man and the inappropriate activities.
That's why I don't have a mic.
That's why he doesn't have a mic, because we'd be shunned and ostracized. There would be scandal. There you go. Sorry, Dave, I missed a couple of questions. You're responding. Someone asked about this guitar again. This is a Fender Custom Shop guitar that I ordered special. It was a unique order back in the day. 56 neck profile, flatter radius, 22 frets, jumbo frets, medium jumbo. Initially, I had Texas Special pickups. I've had Fat 50s in here. Currently, a buddy of mine from the Washington, D.C. area made some pickups, and I popped them in, and they sounded great. A guy named Mike McConaughey, and he calls these bell tone pickups, and he wound them himself. They sound great. I've had lace sensors in this guitar, and again, that was, that not Radio for Gristle, double the Gristle record, the live stuff. Most of it is this guitar with lace sensors. Something funky. You know what? I used this guitar on the original Mrs. Buckley. Why don't we do that one? And I used a Univibe. The Univibe I'm hitting right now is from Jam Pedal. Four position on this one. ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I saw some questions out there in movie land as we were playing. My wife doesn't like it when I say movie land. I saw some questions on the chat that indicated that there's some curiosity as to Dylan is working it, isn't he, back there? He's pounding those skins like a demon in heat. Like a demon in heat. That's my son back there on the drums, ladies and gentlemen. Initially, when we were doing these on quarantine, people were like, nice quarantine. I'm like, he's my son. We live in the same house, okay? It's all right. All right, I'm just going to say that. It's okay. So, anyway. I was using the Univibe from Jam Pedals, Jam. They make something called the, is it the Mojo Vibe? It's not the Deja Vibe. Deja Vibe's the one that Full Tone makes. I used to use one of those. Do you remember what it's called?
Jam pedal?
The Jam Pedals Vibe. Just look under Jam Pedals. But the octave pedal that I used is made by my buddy Tim Yarning, who makes my Gristle pedal for me. I was actually using the clean boost on the Gristle pedal, and I was using the Gristle King, I should say. Gristle King pedal has a clean boost and an overdrive, and Tim makes those for me. We actually sell them for my old website, not my old website, my website. Anyway, so you got a clean sound. I'm going into the clean sound of my Koch amplifier called the Greg. So this is the clean sound. Here's the clean boost of the Gristle King. I have the overdrive on top of that. Back to that. The Octavia pedal is something that my buddy Tim made for me. I wanted an Octavia, but I only use an Octavia one way. It's like I turn the actual octave fuzz only on about 9 o'clock, and then I usually turn the volume on about 3 o'clock. So I use it a certain way where that's the sweet spot. And then I get pissed when I actually hit the I hit the octave button or either one of those buttons by accident, and it changes it the ways it sounds. So I said to Tim, I go, just set it the way I like it and then get rid of the knobs so that there's only an on-off pedal. So we call this pedal the F-up pedal. And that sounds like this. So this is an example of just being able to, now I will say that Wildwood orders guitars that are so dialed in, like all the Wildwood 10s, from the custom shop. They have them readily available for you to pounce, like wild game. But if you wanted to order something specifics, you call them up and say, listen, I want to get this kind of guitar with this kind of color and this kind of this, and I want that. And they would get a hold of the custom shop and make it happen for you. So it's kind of a cool thing. A little dangerous because, as I said, a lot of times in the end, people will get it and it's like, it's not what I thought it was going to be. So it's a little bit of a dangerous proposition. That's why I like the fact that Wildwood has a bunch of them that are already kind of dialed in, that you can pick out the thing that is that interests you in terms of color and woods and pickups and so on and so forth, and they just kind of modify from there. Something already good. You actually don't even need to modify it. This particular guitar is a Wildwood 1057 Strat. And so what they do is, Wildwood, is that they'll, initially when you get guitars from the custom shop, if they would do like a 57 Strat or whatever, they were made like the original one. So with smaller frets, the 7 1/4 inch radius, all that kind of stuff. And Wildwood's like, can we get them with, modern radiuses, like a 10-inch radius and maybe 6105 frets and different pickups and this, that, and the next thing, and nitro finishes and this, that, and that. And they're like, what? Initially, they weren't hip to it. So Wildwood's like, what if we ordered a bunch of them? And they said, yes, you can do it. So they started ordering quantities of the guitars, and they've been extraordinarily successful because they're magnificent. So on a given Wildwood 10, this one is, they have to be a certain weight. The necks are quarter sawn, 10-inch radius, 6105 frets. Usually have special pickups in them, which sound great. But in this guitar, I have the Fishman Fluence pickups that I helped voice. So you'll hear what this sounds like in comparison to the Strat. Like, lickety split. What was the Octavia pedal on solo? Or no, the Octavia pedal was that pedal that my buddy Tim made for me. So that is, it's called the F Up by Tim Yarning. I don't know if he sells them or if I got the only one, but maybe I should start selling those from my website because everyone always asks. It's a great sounding pedal. And again, it's just set up one way. So there's just, you hit that button and it's always going to sound like that. Nice quack-a-lack on there. Someone asked, why only 480p resolution? Because my internet sucks, okay? We're trying to upgrade the internet. We're waiting for the fiber optic to become available. We know it's available because we can see it in the backyard, but it has been going on a month now of trying to get the proper people to tell AT&T that we have the ability to have fiber optic. Once we have that, my friend, this video will look so realistic, you're gonna call security because it's gonna look like I'm in your very own home. And if that happens, you're all in trouble because I'm gonna raid your refrigerator. I'm gonna find that Captain Crunch with Crunchberry, and I'm gonna grind it up and snort it right in front of you and your family. Some SRV Hungry Bend. I like that sound. I like that kind of talk. I have the Chicago Iron Octavia, not too shabby. Eddie, I had that very same pedal myself, and it is an outstanding pedal. It is not inexpensive, but it sounds majestic. What I like so much about this one is that it's, as I said, it has no buttons on it, so I'm not going to be, because usually an Octavia, even the Chicago Iron one is a bigger pedal, and you're in danger of hitting those knobs and all that kind of stuff. I said, Tim, I want something that's the size of like a TS-808 with just a button that goes on and off, and he made it happen. Hooray for me! Hooray for Tim! I should really make them available. I'm going to call up Tim and say, Tim, you got to make some of these so I can sell them through the website because people want them. You get that thing? walk into our jams. My wife just came downstairs and she's closing the door that leads into here, into the kitchen. What's that? Yeah, but you're plugging this ear because this is the one that's, yeah, the other one's already shot. Is it the mini vent you use now? Jimmy Bishop asks. Actually, I use the old gray ventilator, but when I travel sometimes and I'll use the mini vent. I also have the ventilator 2, which is the bigger one of those. The 2 newer ones sound great. For some reason, for me, the gray one it just sounds a little different to me. That might be kind of weird, but on my pedal board at home, I use the old gray ventilator. When I travel, I'll bring the vent 2 and be fine with it. I haven't been using it all that much lately because I got Toby in the band and I got a B3 player, so I don't really feel the need to have the ventilator ventilating. Plus, on my signature amp from our friends at Koch, I have the harmonic vibrato, which sounds like this. Sounds great. So a lot of times I'll just bring a cord and the amp and we're done. What do you think of the new Fender Player series? You know, I played a few of them and I thought they were actually quite nice. They're doing good stuff. They got a lot of different options for folks. Greg, Rory Gallagher opinion. I certainly do love that Irish Tour record, 1972. That's kind of a must-have. I was kind of late to the party on Rory because it wasn't in my brother's record collection. Excuse me. And anyway, yeah, I'm in like Flint. What was that Octavia tone? That is a pedal called the F-Up pedal. My buddy Tim Yarning makes. Even the professional world, the drummer still gets locked in the corner. What are you gonna do? Yes. Yeah. Let's do a little. Someone wanted Absinthe the other day, so we're gonna do a little version of Absinthe, I think. Absinthe is a tune from my record Defenestrator. It was actually on. Originally, it was on a record called Defenestrator. And then there was a version of it on, that same version ended up on this compilation record called The Grip. That was my first record on Steve Vai's Favored Nations record back in 2001. And then there was a live version that came on the reissued version of Strat's Got Your Tongue of this song Absinthe, which I came up with. It's a little minor blues, but with some interesting changes in the key of C minor. gentlemen, a little bit of a thing called Absinthe for your listening dining pleasure. Can you dig it? Will you dig it? Can you dig it? Will you dig it? I like it. Can you please tell us how you came up with Luna Girl? I can. I want to switch guitars here. I did restring these guitars today, so they're a little persnick, but actually they're doing pretty good. Again, this is a Wildwood 10, 57 Wildwood 10 from the custom shop. In the beautiful vintage white, I believe. This is a faded Fiesta Red Wildwood 10 55 Telecaster. This one is sporting my signature Fishman Fluence gristle tone pickups. I actually use this guitar to record a version of Luna Girl that's on the interwebs on the IK Media. We did a thing over there in Italy, and we played this song on there. And someone asked me how I came up with the tune Luna Girl. And I had this little C thing up down here. There's this cool little kind of vamp thing you can do with keeping the G string ringing open, and then you're playing a pedal C on the A string there at the 3rd fret, and then the B string at the 2nd fret. So you get those kind of going. And then you have the blues scale up here in C. You do all kinds of. So I do this little pedal thing going where this is going down on the A string, and then on top of that I can add those things. And back down to the F chord there for a little added refreshment. Someone asking for Welch's Grape, that's really hard to do with just a duo, because there's no one to pump out those bass notes for those chords. But people always ask about those chords. C sharp 7, sharp 9, G 13. F sharp 13, E 13, B 9, C. I hate this chorly chord sometimes. Can you dig it? So again, this is a Wildwood 10 55 telly. Got a little bit more of a beefy neck on the 55. It's not quite as big as the Nocaster U, but it's got some girth, is what it's got. It's got some girth. Someone wants a version of Red House. You know what? We could do that. What are we doing on time here? Oh my God, it's time, isn't it? That's crazy. Next time we'll do the version of Red House. At the end of the broadcast, when it gets to be about this time, I open it up for some questions. So if I missed anything, you sound like Albert King when you say "woo." That's not an accident. I do like me some. Woo! When you're down and out and you feel real bad, come on over to the place I was. Woo! Sorry, Albert King there. How does one town of two great guitarists, it must be in the water, you and old Lester Palfus, are great influences on my guitar playing. Thank you. Did Les Paul ever know you were from the same place? Yes, I sat in with Les Paul. Snare. Did Dylan get the snare or not? He did. He remembered. Dylan remembered to turn off the snare. Now, Dylan. Yes, I sat in with Les Paul at the Iridium. And I was introduced as, there's a guy here from Milwaukee who's going to come up here and play with us. And it went great. And I have some pretty epic pictures of that incident. Thoughts on the Dynasonic pickups? They sound great. I do dig them. Do I ever use a capo? Every now and again, I will use a capo. Any plans to come to Tucson with the trio when gigging? Oh, this doggone computer. Oh, now I got to wait for him to load up again. You know what? You son of a gun. Greg, it sounds like Albert's tongue was too big for his mouth. I don't know about that. He was a mesmerizing individual. Roy Buchanan, I love Roy Buchanan. Any tips on how to use extended harmony in the context they can be used in? Oh boy, that's a loaded question. I am doing a clinic tonight, ladies and gentlemen, from my various web portals. I'll go live at 6:30 tonight. It's more of a playing-oriented thing, actually, for this event that's usually done in central Wisconsin, mass guitar event, and I'm doing a little coaching. But why is the sound so low? Is it low? Maybe I have to eat the mic. I'm eating the mic. I'm sounding like a demon. I'm eating the mic. Okay. Extended harmony, that's a loaded question. I mean, for the most part, when you're playing in a blues, you know, if I'm playing an A, you can use obviously a blues scale, minor pentatonic, where you had that blue note, flat fifth. Sometimes you leave that, keep the flatted fifth in, but ditch the regular fifth. You get this. Or do it down here. So it's like, you know, root, second, minor third, fifth, sixth. It's a cool little texture. Oh, you get the idea. You can do some crazy stuff with that. Where is the best place to view your clinic tonight online? Well, it'll be coming from my Facebook Greg Koch music page. It's affiliated with Hal Leonard and a store up north in Wisconsin called Hyde Music. But can you dig it? So there you have it. You had my wife and I cracking up last Friday's night stream sign-off discussion Q&A about your dietary breakfast selections. Well, thank you. I do try to mix it up. What's a clinic, if I may ask? Well, a clinic's a workshop. It depends. It depends on what I'm doing it for. Tonight, it's more playing-oriented. They have this mass guitar event in my old college town of Stevens Point, Wisconsin, where they get together and a bunch of people of various different skill levels learn one song and they all play together at one time. Not dissimilar to what my buddy Leszek does in Poland, where at that Thanks Jimmy festival. But there they got like 130,000 people that play Hey Joe or something. But this is a little different. It's not quite as many people, but it's in central Wisconsin and Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And they can't do it this year because of the COVID-19 situation. So they thought it would be fun for me to do an online clinic and kind of tie it into, so we picked a couple of jams from my blues book, actually, and I'm going to kind of give a little tutorial of how to play that material, and then you can submit videos for this thing of you playing the songs, and that's kind of fun. So that's going to be from 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time. Can you dig it? Prefer maple necks. I do prefer maple necks. It's not that I dislike other necks. I do on my next version of my Reverend guitar, it's going to actually have an ebony fingerboard. But my usual preference is a maple neck. when did you begin learning music theory? Do you sight read music? I kind of did it begrudgingly. I started right away learning out of method books and whatnot. And then in high school, I had to read charts for jazz band. And then I did go to school for music up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, as a matter of fact. I wanted to be literate so I could actually write down music and be able to read it to the extent that I could know what I'm doing. And so I did. And that came in handy when I got that relationship with Hal Leonard and I started writing a bunch of books for them. It certainly helped that I knew how to do it. So there's that. When I'm usually doing stuff with bands, I might do chord charts. I'll write down a line if it needs to be done, but most of that stuff's done by ear. But I will, if we're in the studio and the arrangement isn't real tight, I'll write down a chart for it. Or if I'm going across, playing with a different group, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to have this rhythm section for you. They'll learn some of your songs." Then I'll send a chart along with an MP3 or whatever they're calling them these days, that you could learn the material. Defenestrator is terrific. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy it. Defenestrator was a record I put out in actually 1998. We reissued it a couple years ago. We remastered it and reissued it. But yeah, I was pleased with the way that record turned out back in the day. Hey, Greg, it was great meeting you at Gearfest year before last. I'm the geek that made a video about how tall you are. I also posted a cool multicam vid of you performing Sweet Tea. Yes, I remember that. Cool. Nice to see you again. Well, nice to virtually see you. Maple, next situation is a feel thing or a tone thing or both? Both. I just happen to think guitars with a maple neck, especially with like an ash body, or in the case of my signature guitar has Carina. It just seems to snap a little bit more. That's just my feeling on it. Can you please tell us about your string action? Arturo asks. What's interesting is I don't set up my own guitars. Like the way the guitars come from Reverend is the way that I play them. So my signature guitars. These guitars, I had it set up coming from, every now and again, and the seasons change and the necks might get a little bowed or the reverse. I'll have to bring them into someone to fix them. But I don't like action real low because I do those, bands where I'm going. When I'm going up, whatever that is, 2-hole step. So I can't have it bottoming out. So it's not real low, but it's comfy. How many guitars do you own? Any idea? It's 30-ish. Nothing too crazy. I do purge, so I don't keep. I've actually been pretty good. I mean, I've had this guitar since 1991. That in of itself is a miracle. Yes. Let's see what else. Sweet Tea is a sweet, sweet song. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you dig that song. That's on a record called Unrepentant. And we've actually been doing a pretty cool version of that with the Koch Marshall Trio. We may reinvestigate that song on a live record of some sort. We usually go into that tune after we play the song Unrepentant. Steve Karras, how you doing out there? What's going on? Dylan killed it today. Do any of your other kids play? Could there be a Partridge Family-esque project down the road? My youngest son plays saxophone, and he's been practicing quite a bit, but he hasn't jammed with us yet. We're going to get him to do it, but he's been like, no, I don't want it. But he's been practicing the Charlie Parker upstairs, and it sounds pretty damn good. My daughter Grace plays some bass, but she's out in Vermont. If she was here right now, we'd force her into playing at least a blues with us. And Isla plays a little guitar, and she picks it up pretty damn fast, but she hasn't worked up anything else. And she sings great too, so we might coerce them into something on down the line. We shall see. Any simple tips for outlining a jazz blues chord changes on a 12-bar blues? There's a bunch of different stuff you can do. If I'm doing a blues in A, if I'm doing more of a jazzy blues, I'll do like a 13th chord. And I might harmonize that little line and go. And then for the turnaround, a lot of times I like to do this where I go A13 up to like a C9 to like a F major 7 down to like a B flat 9 with a flat 5 back to A. So some examples of some of the foolishness I'll do over a blues. Foolishness over a blues. Oh, I got to get going. I got this doggone call I got to make. So, about the event tonight. So, if you're up for it, we'll see you tonight. Thanks, Wildwood. Hey, Paulie Brown. I hope you're doing well out there. Paulie Brown, Paulie Brown. Have you ever purchased any of the guitars from Wildwood demos because they sounded so good? I have indeed. This one, the white Strat, 3 different Les Pauls. Another couple tellies. I bought my 53 telly out there. So yes, the answer to that would be affirmative. Anyways, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you again on, is today Thursday already? Jumping Jehoshaphat, it's so weird. We'll see you next Tuesday for Wildwood Live. 3 p.m. Central. We'll be here. Thanks so much, folks. Take it easy, but take care.